Mrs. Sarah, can I talk to you for a moment?
Of course, Flavia. What's on your mind?
I I have a problem at home. It's been really hard, and I don't know who to talk to.
I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds serious. Do you feel comfortable telling me a bit more?
It's just, my parents have been arguing a lot lately, and it's making everything stressful at home. I don't know what to do.
That sounds really tough. I'm glad you came to me. How about we sit down and talk about this in detail after class today?
Yes, I'd like that. Thank you, Mrs. Sarah.
We'll figure this out together, Flavia. Meet me in my office after class, okay? Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into one of Shakespeare's most famous plays, Romeo and Juliet. We'll be discussing the literary devices he uses, analyzing the characters, and exploring the themes within the play. Let's start with literary devices. Can anyone tell me what a metaphor is?
A metaphor is a figure of speech that describes an object or action in a way that isn't literally true but helps explain an idea or make a comparison.
Exactly, Ollie. Shakespeare uses a lot of metaphors in his writing. Can anyone give me an example of a metaphor from Romeo and Juliet?
In the balcony scene, Romeo says, "It is the east," and Juliet is the sun.
Great example. So, what is Romeo comparing Juliet to in this metaphor?
He's comparing her to the sun.
Right. And why do you think he uses this particular metaphor?
I think he's trying to express how important she is to him. The sun is essential for life, and by comparing her to the sun, he's saying that she's vital to his life.
That's an excellent interpretation. Metaphors like this one help convey deeper meanings and emotions. Now, let's talk about similes. Could you explain what a simile is?
A simile is a figure of speech that compares two different things using the words like or as.
Perfect. Can you find a simile in Romeo and Juliet?
Here's one: "My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love is deep." In this simile, Juliet is comparing her love to the sea. It shows that her love is vast and deep, almost infinite.
Exactly. Shakespeare's use of similes and metaphors adds richness to the text and helps us understand the characters' emotions more profoundly. Speaking of characters, let's analyze Romeo and Juliet themselves. What do you think motivates Romeo's actions throughout the play?
I think he's driven by his intense emotions. He falls in love very quickly and acts impulsively because of it.
That's true. Romeo's impulsiveness is a significant part of his character. How about Juliet? What motivates her?
Juliet seems more thoughtful than Romeo, but she's also very young and inexperienced. She's trying to navigate her feelings and the pressures from her family.
Good points. Juliet's youth and inexperience definitely play a role in her decisions. Now, let's discuss the themes of the play. One of the central themes is the conflict between love and hate. How do you see this theme playing out in the story?
The feud between the Montagues and Capulets represents hate, and Romeo and Juliet's relationship represents love. Their love is constantly threatened by the hatred between their families.
Exactly. This theme is central to the tragedy of the play. The love between Romeo and Juliet is pure, but it's overshadowed by the hatred around them. Let's open this up to the class. How do you think the historical context of Shakespeare's time influenced the themes in Romeo and Juliet?
During Shakespeare's time, family honor and loyalty were very important. The feud between the families might reflect societal conflicts and the importance of family reputation.
Very insightful. Ollie. The societal norms and values of Shakespeare's time definitely influenced his writing. Understanding the historical context helps us appreciate the layers of meaning in the play. Now, for today's discussion, let's split into groups and analyze different scenes for literary devices, character motivations, and themes. Remember to support your points with quotes from the text.
Sarah summarizes the key points discussed and assigns a related homework task.
Great job today, everyone. For homework, I'd like you to choose one scene and write a short essay analyzing the use of literary devices, character motivations, and how the scene contributes to the overall themes of the play. Be prepared to share your essays in our next class. Have a wonderful day. All right, Flavia. We have some time now. What's been going on at home that's troubling you?
It's just, everything feels so overwhelming. My parents have been fighting a lot lately, and it's really affecting me.
I'm sorry to hear that, Flavia. That sounds really tough. Can you tell me more about what's been happening?
They argue about everything. Money, responsibilities, even little things like who's doing the dishes. It's gotten worse over the past few months, and I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of it all.
That sounds incredibly stressful. It must be hard to focus on school with all of that going on at home.
It is. I can't concentrate in class, and I'm always worried about what I'll go home to. Sometimes I even dread going back.
That's completely understandable, Flavia. It's natural to feel that way when there's so much conflict at home. Have you been able to talk to your parents about how their arguments are affecting you?
I've tried, but it always seems to make things worse. They either brush me off or start blaming each other more. It's like they don't realize how much it's hurting me.
I'm really sorry to hear that. It sounds like they're so caught up in their own issues that they're not seeing the impact on you. Have you considered talking to another trusted family member, like a grandparent or an aunt or uncle?
I thought about it, but I don't want to cause more trouble. I feel like it's my burden to carry, even though I know it's not really my fault.
It's definitely not your fault, Flavia. And it's important to remember that you don't have to carry this burden alone. There are people who care about you and want to help. Have you talked to any friends about what's going on?
Not really. I'm embarrassed, and I don't want them to think less of me or my family.
I understand that. It's hard to open up about personal issues, especially when you're worried about judgment. But sometimes, sharing what you're going through can help relieve some of the pressure you're feeling. True friends will want to support you.
I guess so. I've just been keeping everything bottled up, and it's getting harder and harder to deal with.
Holding everything inside can definitely make things worse. It's like carrying a heavy backpack. You need to lighten the load sometimes. What if we come up with some coping strategies together to help you manage this stress?
That would be great. I'm not sure where to start.
Let's start with some small steps. One thing you can do is find a quiet place where you can take a break and breathe when things get overwhelming. It could be your room, a park, or even the library.
I do like going to the park. It's peaceful there.
That's a perfect place to clear your mind. Another thing you could try is writing down your thoughts and feelings in a journal. Sometimes, getting things out on paper can help you process them better.
I've never tried journaling, but I'll give it a shot.
Great. And remember, it's important to take care of yourself physically too. Make sure you're eating well, getting enough sleep, and doing things you enjoy, like hobbies or sports.
I've been neglecting those things. I used to love painting, but I haven't done it in a while.
Painting sounds like a wonderful way to express yourself and relieve stress. Try to make time for it, even if it's just a little bit each week. And don't forget, you can always come to me or another teacher if you need to talk. We're here to help.
Thank you, Mrs. Sarah. It feels good to know I'm not alone.
You're definitely not alone, Flavia. We'll get through this together, How about we schedule regular check-ins? That way, we can make sure you're doing okay and talk about any new issues that come up.
I'd like that. It would help a lot to have someone to talk to regularly.
Absolutely. Let's plan to meet once a week after school. And if you need to talk before then, just let me know. You're not in this alone.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sarah. I really appreciate it.
What a day, David. It was one of those days where everything felt so intense.
Really? Tell me about it. What happened?
Well, it started with a conversation with one of my students, Flavia. She approached me before class, clearly distressed. She has some serious family issues. It was heartbreaking to see her so troubled.
That sounds tough. What did she say?
She didn't go into much detail at first, but she hinted that her parents have been fighting a lot. It's affecting her deeply. We decided to talk after class in more detail.
Poor girl. It's hard enough being a student without dealing with family problems on top of it.
Exactly. After the quick conversation with Flavia, I went into my class on Romeo and Juliet. We had a really engaging discussion. I was trying to get the students to think deeply about Shakespeare's use of metaphors and similes.
That sounds interesting. How did the students respond?
They were great. Especially Ollie. He asked some really insightful questions about the metaphors Shakespeare used. It sparked a lively debate about the characters' motivations and the historical context of the play. It's moments like these that make teaching so rewarding.
I can imagine. It must be gratifying to see your students so engaged.
It is. But it's also challenging. After class, Flavia and I had our longer conversation. She poured her heart out about her parents' constant arguments. She feels caught in the middle and powerless to do anything about it.
That must have been tough for you to hear. How did you handle it?
I just listened, really listened. I asked her questions to help her open up and made sure she knew that her feelings were valid. I suggested some coping strategies, like finding a quiet place to relax and journaling her thoughts. I also told her she could always come to me if she needed to talk.
It sounds like you gave her exactly what she needed, someone to listen and offer support.
I hope so. It's moments like these that remind me of why I became a teacher. It's not just about academics. It's about being there for my students, helping them navigate their lives.
You're more than just a teacher, Sarah. You're a mentor, a guide, and sometimes even a surrogate parent. It's amazing what you do.
Thank you, David. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Seeing Flavia leave with a bit of hope in her eyes made my day.
And you've made a difference in her life. That's something to be really proud of.
I think about all the students who might be going through similar issues but aren't speaking up. It's a big responsibility.
It is, but you're doing a fantastic job. You're making a positive impact, one student at a time.
Thank you. It helps to have your support. Knowing that I can come home and talk to you about my day makes all the difference.
Always. We're a team, remember? Speaking of which, what do you think about taking a break this weekend? Maybe a short trip or just a relaxing day out?
That sounds wonderful. We could use some time to recharge. How about a hike and a picnic?
Perfect. We'll pack a lunch and find a nice spot. It'll be a great way to unwind and enjoy some fresh air.
That sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for always being there for me, David.
Always, Sarah. You're my rock too. Now, let's finish our tea and maybe watch a movie? Something light and funny?
That's exactly what I need. Let's do it.